What is up, ladies and gentlemen? But most of all, you ladies out there, thanks for clicking on another episode of Break the Silence. I am your host, Cyborg. The Grizzlies dismantle the Bucks. Let's talk about it. Split out! What an absolutely dominating performance from the Memphis Grizzlies tonight. Tonight, they took down the Milwaukee Bucks, the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, one of the teams favored to win the NBA Finals, and the Grizzlies took their lunch money. Just beat them up and took their lunch money. Right now, as of recording this video, they're up by 45 points. 45 points, and there's still 5 minutes left in the game. Didn't feel like that was worth watching because I want to talk about this team, this Grizzlies team that's legit and a legitimate contender in the Western Conference. And I think there's a lot to this that is really important when you're looking at the way they played tonight, the way they've been playing lately, because that's 7 wins in a row. And then with this big news to Steph Curry and the fact that he's going to be out for a few weeks, I think this is big for teams in the Western Conference. We're going to get into all of that, and then I'll briefly hit on the Bucks. I don't think it's worth talking about them too terribly much tonight. They just, like I said, they got their butts handed to them, and that's kind of that when it comes to this game tonight. But first, before we get into it, please take a second to like and subscribe. We are so close to 600 subscribers. I think only a couple away. So if you could, please take a second to hit that little button. That would be greatly appreciated. Now, the Memphis Grizzlies have everything you want in a basketball team. They have size, rim protection. They have athleticism, playmaking. They have stars. They have multiple all-stars. Desmond Bane, who didn't play tonight, playing like an all-star. They also have, in my opinion, the new thickest player in the NBA, in David Roddy, their rookie that was the 23rd overall pick this year. And he's Kim Kardashian thick. So, in my opinion, we need to make sure that we keep Chris Paul away from this man at all costs. If you know, that was just too easy. I'm sorry. That Roddy guy is huge though, and really, really impressive tonight. We'll get into it more. That was obviously all a joke. But tonight, the Grizzlies just completely took down the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, that's 7 wins in a row, like I mentioned. This now puts them the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. The Pelicans are also playing, so if they win, they'll still be tied for the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. These two teams have taken significant steps forward this year. And right now, there's no clear-cut favorite in the Western Conference. So if you're a Grizzlies or a Pelicans fan, you got to feel as good as anybody in the West, especially with the news of Steph Curry. The way that the Grizzlies played tonight made me feel like they heard the Steph Curry news and were, you're never excited when someone gets hurt, but came out even more motivated to play than ever, that they're just going to, like the doors are wide open for them to have a chance to win this Western Conference. Because who's the legitimate contender against them? The Pelicans are very good. The Nuggets are very good, and then maybe a couple other teams get their crap together. But you got to feel like, as the Grizzlies, you have a real chance to make the NBA Finals this year. And you had playoff experience last year. You had some successes. Now, the most important thing, Ja Morant is so athletic and so electric. Staying healthy always concerns me with Ja Morant. It's like watching Lamar Jackson or something like that. That it's like they're so good when they're on the field, court, whatever. But you always are just a little worried with how explosive Ja Morant is, that he's going to land on his ankle wrong and something's going to go bad. But right now, Ja Morant, to me, is probably in the top 5 in the MVP race. Tonight, he had 25 points, 10 assists, and 10 rebounds. So he put up a triple-double, and he played 26 minutes. That's truly incredible. Now, how are the Grizzlies getting this done? That's the question. Tonight, they dominated in the first and second quarter, really. But the Milwaukee Bucks simply could not stop this team. The Milwaukee Bucks are the number 1 defensive team in the entire NBA, number 1 in defensive rating. And the Grizzlies gave them all they could handle. They took it to the basket on them. They were shooting the lights out from the three-point range. Now, they cooled off a little bit. Near the end of the game, finished at 38%. But they were going straight to the basket and just dominating in the paint. The Bucks defense is primarily predicated on rim protection. And the Grizzlies said, nah, we're going straight at you and we're going to dominate. And the thing you got to remember, is that the Grizzlies are doing all this without Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane was playing like an all-star before his injury. He's been out for a few weeks, and they said he's going to be out potentially 3 more weeks. So we won't see him for a little while longer. That probably will hurt him for making the All-Star game with how many good guards there are in the West. But he was playing at an All-Star level, averaging 25 points a game. So you bring back that piece, and Jaren Jackson's now back from his injury, and Jaren Jackson's protecting the rim at an elite level. Steven Adams played great tonight with 5 blocks, and this is a very, very dangerous basketball team because they have so much strength in the paint. When you're talking about playing teams like the Bucks, like the Pelicans, when Zion's trying to go to the paint and he runs it, obviously Zion, not many people can stop him, but Steven Adams can give the most resistance possible, at least. But when you look at this Grizzlies team, they're one of 3 teams right now in the NBA that are top 10 in both offensive rating and defensive rating. They come in 9th on offense and 6th in defense. That's with the Celtics and the Pelicans. And you would argue that those are 3 of the top 4 teams in the NBA. With this Milwaukee Bucks team, the Bucks are number 1 in defense, 17 in offense. So really, really good on defense, little lacking on offense, on offense, middle of the pack there. But this Grizzlies roster, it has so much depth and so many guys that step up and make plays. They have 6 guys that are averaging in double figures for the season. Let me count that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then they have Conchar, who's at 9.8. They have Brandon Clark, who's at 9.8. Conchar, who is at 8.4. Steven Adams, who is at 8. So they are getting production and real valuable minutes from a lot of players on this squad. If you're going 9 deep in productive players, then you're talking about one of the deeper teams in the NBA. And when you're looking at the playoffs, when you're looking at surviving through injuries, surviving through foul trouble, all those things that are really important, the Grizzlies are able to handle that because of how much depth they have. Now, I think the Grizzlies play with the biggest chip on their shoulder in the entire NBA. They are just out there. They look like they have a blast playing basketball. They look like they're talking trash the whole time, and they look like they just play so angry, and I love it. I love watching this Grizzlies team play because, they look like they love basketball, and they make the game fun. Ja Morant, this guy is incredible. He's incredible at basketball. His explosion, the way he gets off the court, is so unique. It is, like I said, it's a little scary because it doesn't seem like anyone should be able to get off the court quite like that. But the way that he is able to finish at the rim, finish above the rim, finish under the rim, go at you in the mid-range with a little floater. He's such a good passer, playmaker. And then he's working on the 3 ball. It's not something that, let me see what he's shooting for the season. But for the season, averaging 27.7 points, 7.8 rebounds, 7.8 assists, which is 5th in the league, and 6.6 rebounds a game, which is highly impressive. His 3-point percentage is 35.5%. That'll work because he's pretty efficient from the field at 46%. And they said he's 7th in the league right now in points in the paint. So this is a guy who will attack you over and over and over and over and put so much pressure on your defense that you have to be ready to play because he's attacking you. And when you send help, he's going to kick it out to shooters because he's got a lot of good shooters on the court with him because Dillon Brooks can be a good shooter. Desmond Bane, when he comes back, is a very good shooter. Jaren Jackson can hit the 3. Conchar is actually a decent shooter. They just have so many guys who have stepped up and guys who have taken over for, they lost Kyle, is it Anderson? The slow-mo Kyle, whatever his name is. But they lost him, and you kind of worried about this Grizzlies team, but they really have taken a step forward. And I think if you go into this postseason right now, if you're looking at the standings, right now, you have the Pelicans, Grizzlies, Nuggets, Blazers, Suns, Clippers, Kings, and Jazz. There is no way in my mind that you can convince me that any of those teams are head and shoulders above the Grizzlies. Now, the Pelicans are very, very good. And the Nuggets were my pick to come out of the West, but the Grizzlies do have playoff experience that the Pelicans don't have. The Grizzlies do have the star power to match up with the Nuggets. When you're talking about big guys who can, give Nikola Jokic a tough night, Jaren Jackson, who's one of the best rim protectors in the entire NBA, a guy who will win Defensive Players of the Year if he can stay healthy for a whole year. Ja Morant, who can win MVPs. Desmond Bane, who will make all-star games. Steven Adams, who's a great rim protector. And then you have a bunch of good role players around him. This is legit. This is legit from the Memphis Grizzlies. I love how they built this roster. And I would not be surprised to see this team in the NBA Finals, especially with what we saw from the Golden State Warriors. Now, quickly on the Bucks. They are 20-8 now. They are second in the Eastern Conference. They're a game and a half behind Boston, 2.5 games up on Cleveland. So they're pretty right there at the number 2 seed. I think that this Milwaukee Bucks team is perfectly okay. I don't put too much stock in tonight. Obviously, you're missing Jrue Holiday. Grizzlies are missing Desmond Bane. But sometimes you just come out and you get your teeth kicked in. It just happens in the NBA. That's the reality of it. What you don't want to happen is you don't want it to spiral. You don't want to stack losses on top of each other, because one loss happens here or there. It's hard to win consistently in the NBA, but you don't want to stack losses. They lost 2 nights ago, or they lost a couple nights ago to the Houston Rockets. Then they beat the Warriors, then got their teeth kicked in by the Grizzlies. So you want to start to get back on a roll if you're the Bucks. And Giannis is playing very good basketball, but at times it feels like this team is either a Giannis play or one of their guys are just standing at the three-point line taking shots, and tonight they just couldn't hit them. They shot 50 three-pointers, which in my opinion is way too many. That's just way too many, especially when you're shooting it at 26% clip. So if you're the Bucks, you have to find a way to generate better looks, and Giannis is going to go kamikaze at the rim. But some of these other guys got to play make. And I know that Jrue Holiday not being there is a significant piece in that. But Khris Middleton had one of his worst games that you're going to see Khris Middleton have. He was 1 of 12. And, Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, those guys are kind of spot-up players. You'd love to get some production from guys like George Hill, Grayson Allen, Javon Carter, who are able to, kind of create a little bit to where you're taking a little pressure off of Giannis, that he doesn't have to feel like he does everything. But that's all we got for you about this game. The Grizzlies are unbelievable. I think they have a real shot in the Western Conference. It's between them and the Pelicans, and that would be an electric series to see Ja and Zion go against each other, especially because they were the same draft class. So much debate between the two. And I just can't wait to watch the rest of this season pan out in the West, because that is wide open. And with Steph Curry's injury, I mean, you have to feel good as any of those West teams that you have a chance, that you have a real chance to make a run. So stay tuned. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep talking hoops. Cyber go.